Testing 1, 2, 3. Good morning, everybody. Another interesting day in crypto lies ahead. Good morning to Hidden and KB over on You Know Where. Lots of people in chat on Binance Square. Good morning, Queen, Workshop, Akil, MD Trader, Crypto Invest. I hope you're all doing incredibly well. Good morning, Kareen, Shaji, Umar. I hope you're all doing incredibly well. I suppose we should probably start the show. Good morning, everybody. The 20th of January, 2026, 11 a.m. Central European Time. I am Mike, your host at Crypto Warehouse, and we have, as always, a busy show. I didn't stream yesterday for a very good reason. I had an eye appointment, and officially I have been discharged. I have 20/20 vision. I am able to land a plane with these eyes. I can't believe I have 20/20 vision after all this time. It brings a smile to my face. So that's the first bit of news. The second bit of news is tomorrow night we have the Wolfies Quiz Night live on Binance Square, live on the other place, which we can't mention the name of, and we will be giving away cryptocurrency if you watch the stream. If you're on Binance Square, we've got the Crypto Warehouse Wheel of Fortune, and if you're on the other place, you finish in the top 3 and you might win. Now, KB has been missing for the last 176 quizzes. Is he going to make a change and appear for the 177th? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Kishan has been getting into the top 6. Mary's been dominating. Samurai Smart's been dominating. Hidden's been dominating. There's a lot of the usual OGs that are winning. But that doesn't mean you can't win with Binance Square, because tomorrow night you simply put your user ID into the chat and we will collect them all. And the day after, we will make a video announcing which 3 of you will win crypto. You can't say fairer than that. Now, what are we going to be talking about today? It's a busy day. We've got a lot of X-Files to get through. We're going to talk about the up-and-coming announcements. We're going to look at the Market Watch. We're going to look at Peter Schiff. We're going to look at 24/7/365 trading. We're going to look at money makers. We're going to look at what are the best coins that are making the most amount of money. And this is something we stress all the time on this channel. We're going to talk about the ETH being staked. We're going to talk about sabotage. We're going to talk about being rendered. And we're going to be talking about not being dead. Busy show. Busy show. Now, it's not been that many. No, he hasn't missed 176 quizzes. I think he's missed about 54. So it's not as bad as I'm making it out. But anyway, something else to point out. We are now streaming on another channel as well, and we're trying to build up some traction over there. And I can't mention names because of where we're streaming, but we are going to try and do more multi-streams. We're going to try and stream in more places, just to basically try and draw in the crowd. Now, I don't know if many of you are aware, but viewing figures for crypto streamers are down about 95% since 2022, which is when we started. So I think we're part of the rot. I think we were one of the people that appeared when everything was popular. We could make a video about grass growing and it would get 2,000 or 3,000 views. And at this moment in time, you're lucky if you get a few hundred views. So if you're watching this on any of those platforms, please give us a follow and turn up once in a while, say hello, and we will say hello back. Now, enough of that. Let's get on with the stream. We're going to be talking about the markets to start with, as we always do. Now, I did say that I think we got to where we were going to get to, and then we were going to come back down, and I was called bearish for my opinions. And I'm going to bring up the Bitcoin chart in a bit. And the reason is I said we'd get to the bull market support band. We got within about $400 of the bull market support band, and since then we've come back down fairly dramatically in 2 drops. One to do with Greenland, and the second to do with tariffs, the European Union, and of course Greenland as well. So there's lots of kind of macro news that brings us down. That's why we're back below $91,000 on Bitcoin. Although I have put, as I was telling KB last week or the week before in Telegram, I was given another futures position this morning, and I longed Bitcoin from 90,900. Win some, you lose some. I don't know whether that's going to go up or down, but I think we might have a little bit of a bounce today. Ethereum is hanging on to $3,100 just about. BNB is still above $900. XRP has lost $2, back below $2. Solana is at 128. We're going to be talking about Solana as well. I've got some prices that I think Solana will hold in the next leg down, should we see another leg down. Now, the title of the stream today was, is Bitcoin going to break $90,000? I made that before this second leg down. I think we were at 93, 94. I don't know. We were a lot higher than we are now. And I did suggest that we might break $90,000. But as always, because I set the streams up the night before, by the time we get round to the stream, it's 12 hours later. So we have come back down to 91,000. Solana is down. Cardano is back below 40 cents. There's a lot of absolute... The breaking of various lines on a lot of these cryptocurrencies, for me, is not a good thing. One. And number two, they're always going to kick you in the nuts. The only opportunity you have to not be kicked in the nuts is for these things not to happen. And as we know, ever since before COVID, we've had nothing but macro events to kind of depress the markets. Now, gold is at all-time highs. Silver is up there. That should tell you all you need to know about where investors want to park their cash. They want to park it in gold. Why? Flight to safety. Now, gainers, Canton is up. MYX, Pump.Fun is gaining a little bit, but again, that's down at least 20-30% from where it was. Cosmos is up, and then you're down towards gold. There's not a lot really gaining today. Maple Finance is holding on to 36.5 cents. That's fighting at 40 cents. That, I think, will break at some point. Now, losers, there's an absolute raft of losers here. We don't need to talk about them too much. ICP is down, Dash is down, Monero is down, Morpho, Zcash, Aerodrome. It's a red day. Look at the market cap. We are still above $3 trillion, though. I will point that out. We were down at 2.91, 2.92 not that long ago. So even though it's a red day, if you zoom out, it's not as red as people think. Remember, we went to $80,000 not too long ago. We are a good 10 or 11% above that. So take everything with a pinch of salt. Yes, we are down. Yes, I think we're going to come a little bit lower. But I don't think, as I said, I don't think we're going to come down. I saw somebody today, I'm not going to include it in the stream, somebody was saying that we're going to go to $10,000 for Bitcoin. And what are you talking about? I mean, come on, seriously, $10,000 Bitcoin? Grow yourself a pair. USD1 has arrived on Camino Finance. USD1 is the fiat stablecoin from World Liberty Financial. It is spreading its wings, as of course their logo is. It's everywhere. USD1 is on Binance, it's on Solana, it's on everywhere. And again, the one thing I'm going to keep highlighting to you is USD1 is going to break various different milestones this year. And you're going to read people who I cover on this stream who are going to sound surprised. USD1's broken $5 billion. USD1's broken $10 billion, as if it's some kind of revelation. It is an orchestrated move by the Trump family to get this coin to be the third biggest stable coin in the world. That's their objective. And they do that by following the rule book and the playbook of everybody else. And they are going to win. And they're going to become the third biggest stable coin in the world. And there's nothing you or I are going to do about it, but I will commentate and I will tell you, don't be surprised when World Liberty Financial coin is 20, 30, 40 cents. And don't be surprised when that coin is at a 5 and a 10 and a 15 and a $20 billion market cap. Just don't be surprised. Now, in exactly 50 days, Bitcoin circulating supply will hit 20 million. At that point, there will be 1 million Bitcoin left to be mined forever. Again, this milestone has been on the horizon for some time. We covered the 19 million Bitcoin milestone. We're going to hit 20 million. And for me, this is the saddest milestone for me, because we're into the last million. Once we break 20 million and we go to 20 million and one Bitcoin, there's only ever going to be a downward spiral in the number of Bitcoin left to mine. And of course, the more halvings we have, the more spaced out it gets. Of course, But when we get down to 950,000, 900,000, 800,000 Bitcoin left to mine, which is going to take some time, it's that kind of final milestone, breaking. I remember, I think it was 16 or 17 million, 18 million, 19 million, 20 million for me is the last big milestone to hit. The same way as I think the last halving we hit, I think that was the last big halving. So we're getting to the end game of Bitcoin in terms of the mining of it, not obviously in terms of price, but there's not a lot left to mine. We've kind of done the race. We've won the race. We're in the kind of, the victory lap. That's really all it is. Now, something else I've been covering on here ever since Trump came into power. Trump has a playbook, and we covered this in May last year when he had Liberation Day, and I explained to you that the world wasn't going to end. I explained to you that Trump has a book. He wrote a book, The Art of the Deal. He wrote a physical book, which I guarantee 99.99% of you have never read. Okay? It's a good book. Read the book. You understand Trump. Trump makes a lot of noise, puts in an unbelievably bad deal, a bad offer. Everybody kicks off. He then negotiates. You come to the table. You negotiate. Let's say Trump wants to buy something for $1 million that's worth $1 billion. He offers $1 million. There's outcry. I can't believe he's done this. I can't believe he's done that. The world economics are going to come crashing down. The world's coming to an end. And then they sit down and negotiate, and Trump gets it for $300 or $400 million. He's moved a lot further than everybody else has, but he gets the deal for less than half the price. This is the same rule book. I'm not going to deal with France. They're going to get rid of him. He's right, but he's the only one saying the quiet bit out loud. So, of course, the playbook is here. The announcement timing is intentional. Tariffs are structured with escalation windows. The first market reaction is always mechanical. Of course, this happened. It's the same thing over and over again, and that's why I don't even blink when I see what's going on in the markets, because this is all manipulation. You hear people talk, oh, Bitcoin's manipulated, Ethereum's manipulated, Solana's manipulated. No, the macro is manipulated. Everything else follows suit. Donald Trump knows exactly what's going to happen when he does this. The markets will correct. All of his buddies will make a few trades. He'll come to the table, he'll negotiate, he'll say it's the best deal that Europe has ever seen, the best deal America has ever seen in the history of the United States of America. In the history of mankind, a deal has never been as good as this. Everybody claps. Donald Trump pats everybody on the back, tells the French Prime Minister he's actually quite a nice guy, and away you go. And guess what? Everyone buys it, hook, line and sinker every single time, because you are fed from the news. And the news, the objective of the news is not to tell you the news anymore, it's to sell clicks. Once you understand that, you understand that what is being told to you is not necessarily the truth. And again, I have to be a little bit careful what I talk about and how I talk about it. The OCC has approved Circle to operate as a national trust bank in the US. This is going to be something that's going to become commonplace. You're going to see this for Circle, for Tether, for the Blue crypto exchange in America. Binance is probably going to go somewhere down this line in the next couple of years. They're going to become a national trust bank in America. I can absolutely bet my bottom dollar on Binance being some form of bank, a global bank, within the next 5 or 6 years. Why wouldn't it be? When you have banks offering crypto services, you should expect crypto services or crypto exchanges to offer banking services. The credit card is basically the foot in the door. The next step is to have on and off ramps, Swift payments. Then you're looking at direct debits, and then you've pretty much got a bank. So the only kickback you're going to get on this is from the banks that don't want crypto exchanges offering you 4 or 5% on your interest, because that's how they make all their money. The banking system, which is based on rehypothecation and fractional reserves, it's so tightly balanced that when crypto exchanges come along, which have to hold more than the assets that are deposited, then we have a problem. Because Binance will have to hold 101% of assets, whereas your Bank of America has to hold 1% of assets. And that's why banks are scared. Now then, this was from Simon Dessous, and this is something which I don't really care about in terms of... I'm not having a go at SUI. I'm having a go at the hypocrisy behind what people do. So SUI went down. Allegedly, 1 billion in transactions halted, apps froze, users left with no clear answers. I don't believe there was 1 billion in transactions halted, by the way. Operations are back now, but the bigger question is why the network stopped in the first place. This outage will be a defining moment for how SUI is judged going forward. Now, I personally don't care that SUI went down. I don't care when Solana goes down. The issue is that when Solana goes down, everybody and their aunt has a go at Solana. Now, we are still in the early days of crypto adoption. Nobody on here will remember when you had an AOL dial-up, which was 14.4K, then it was 28.8K, and then if you were really rich, you got a 56K dial-up. And it made a screeching noise, and you connected to the internet, and everything took an age to load. That's the stage we're at in crypto. I know we've got all the biggest, sexiest computers in the world, but the technology is still being built. I don't care if Solana goes down once every 4 or 5 months. I don't care if SUI goes down once every 4 or 5 months. But you are fed this story that it's terrible, okay? SUI, at this moment in time, is not relevant. The only reason SUI is relevant is because it has some big voices, like Raoul Pal. That's what makes SUI relevant. But it's not relevant because it's still playing catch-up to the likes of Solana. So it's unfair to have a go at SUI for going down. It's unfair to have a go at SUI for not being as relevant as Solana when it's not been around as long. So when you see these things happen, understand this. This is all still new. Things are still going to break. We had Bitcoin. Again, people won't remember this. We had Bitcoin NFTs, the ordinals. It ground the Bitcoin blockchain to a halt. Everyone sits here and says, right, what can kill Bitcoin? And everyone's like, well, an EMP, war, America banning it. No. You just congest the network. You just fill the network with thousands upon hundreds of thousands of transactions, and you just grind it to a halt. So Bitcoin can suffer. Ethereum, remember, was Ethereum Classic. Then it had a 51% attack. So Ethereum isn't out of the, is not perfect. Solana clearly isn't perfect. XRP, yeah, okay, XRP's not had any problems. SUI has a problem. Nobody bats an eyelid. The hypocrisy behind people specifically having a go at Solana is there for all to see. I don't care if SUI goes down. It will happen, and it will happen to other chains. It's just part of crypto growing up, and there will be teething pains and growing pains. You just need to learn that. Now then, I didn't cover this on Monday because I was not streaming, but nothing is planned for today or yesterday. On Wednesday we have not anything too exciting. This is an interesting day. On Thursday we have the jobless claims, we have the GDP first revision, we have PCE, core PCE, all coming out at 10 a.m. on Thursday. So I think that's about 5 p.m. Central European time, something like that. That's going to cause a little bit of kerfuffle and nothing really on Friday. So just be aware. And again, I know that we have the Kishans in the world who are very good at longing and shorting and leverage. But my advice is simple. On days where there is a lot of macroeconomic data coming out, they are days you should probably just sit to one side. Sit to one side and wait it out. And if you're gonna leverage, do it on Friday. Maybe do it today. Please don't do it on Thursday. So many people get wrecked on core CPI, core PPI, the Fed interest rate decision days. All of these things, they just set up to fail. Now then, one thing I want to very quickly go through is where we are with regards to Bitcoin. Now, we are still above this trend line. I have, looks like a 3-year-old has drawn on here. We are in this box. Now, I made a video and I made some of these videos public, which is why there's so many lines on here. And if you want to know what this video is about, I would suggest that you go and watch it. Actually, let's go to the daily. That would make life a lot easier. Okay, so just a very quick expression of where we are. Bitcoin is between $85 and about $96,000. And in my humble opinion, and that's all it is, my humble opinion, I think we stay here until May at the minimum. And yes, we can come lower because the bottom end of that range is about 85,000. We can come lower. We absolutely can. And if we're going to break higher, we've got to break $98,000, which is the bottom of the bull market support band. That is the range we're in. Now, the only thing that's on here which kind of could counteract that, and that's the yellow line that I deleted, is if we do have this trend line here, if this trend line does exist, and the $250,000 Bitcoin by March gang are correct, then we are going to bounce off here and then we're going to break up and we're going to go that way. Now, that's never happened in the history of Bitcoin, so don't hold your hopes up. But I do think this yellow box is where we're going to spend at least the next January, February, March, April, May. The next 4 months minimum, we're going to be here. Then if you look at the midterms happen in October. Markets trend down before the midterm. They trend down, with the markets really picking up after the midterms. So the macro is we do nothing until October and then we go up. Now, the difference and the reason I've got May on this chart is very simple. Poor old Powell is gone. Okay, he is a dead man walking. Trump is after him. He is going to go in May, and then he's gone. And then we're going to get a new Fed chairman. Trump announced that he was going to give stimmy checks to people in the summer, in June. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist. Again, I'll take you back to what Trump did with the tariffs. If Trump's getting a new Fed chairman in May, and then if he's going to do a stimulus check in June, don't you think that's a coincidence? Absolutely not. All absolutely planned by Trump. Okay? He's not an idiot. Everyone and their aunt will tell you that Trump is an idiot. Okay? And that is the biggest mistake you will make. Okay? Donald Trump is loud, obnoxious, in your face. Okay? He's the meanie. He is the one that you boo in a pantomime. Okay? He's the pantomime villain. But he's not an idiot. Okay? You don't issue stimmy checks in June and replace the Fed chairman in May, and you don't coordinate that by chance. And why May and June? July, August, September. 3 months before the midterms, he will have rate cuts and he will give you money. So when it comes to the midterm elections in America, because it's 2 years through his tenure, he'll be able to say, look at the economy. I've given you money. Oil's at the lowest price it's been in I don't know how many years. Eggs are at the lowest price they've been in I don't know how many years. I've given you all this money and I've cut interest rates, which means your mortgage repayments are a lot lower. He's then made it a law where you can't charge more than, I think, 10% on credit card debt, okay, which is going to come into force soon. He is setting the market up to be favourable for him before the midterms, so when the midterms happen, everyone's going to be in a better frame of mind and they're all going to vote for him again. That is how it plays out. Everything we talk about with Bitcoin and crypto is totally irrelevant, because that's what matters. If you look at the amount of money they're making from the tariffs, it's gone up an awful lot. I don't know if it's 30 billion a month extra or 60 billion, whatever the number is. It's a lot more money that he's making for the economy. The economy doesn't seem to be suffering. So don't call him an idiot. Don't think he's an idiot. You might not agree with what he does. You might not agree with his policies, but he's not an idiot. And this is what I think Bitcoin will do. It's going to sit here for a very long time. Now, if we're wrong, and Trump throws us a curveball and we're at $120,000 in April or May, I will be the first one wearing that cap for Tariq to look at. Okay, I'll be the first one. But given that everyone seems to be giving up on crypto at this moment in time, I don't think that's very likely. Now, Solana. I've picked Solana. I could have picked any of these coins. Now, we are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So what I've circled here is, this is, believe it or not, this is actually a very, very nice fib level here, which is at exactly $110. We have up here $155. I have said that if Solana is going to break up, it needs to break into this range. Believe it or not, it came to the fib level above at 145. I think if Bitcoin does come down a little bit further, which it may or it may not, I think $110 would be a really good price. Maybe $111 or $112 would be a good price at the psychological level, which is about here, $100. So for me, the two buy zones for Solana in any further correction to the downside is going to be 100 and 110. They're the two numbers I would look at. I don't know whether we're going to break too far below that fib. We could do what we've done here and wick, and that wick took us down to $96. I don't know if we're going to see that again, but then again, every time somebody says that, we go even lower. So I think 110 and 100 are the two numbers to look at for Solana. You can do the same thing for Ethereum. I shouldn't really bring up Ethereum. I won't bring up Ethereum. We've got too much to talk about. We'll go on to talk about Peter Schiff and then get through everything else. Now, I am going to drop another box in a second. I'm going to drop a box over on Binance Square. There was a question in YouTube chat about the fact that if you watch on YouTube, you don't get any crypto. That's true. YouTube does not give you the ability to do any airdrops, whereas Binance Square does. So what we're going to do for the next couple of months is just drop money during the Binance Square streams. And the reason we're doing this is we won a Binance Square competition. We were given one BNB, I think it was. And what we said we would do is we would take a proportion of that BNB and we would give it away in dollars. So we sold at 945, converted it to dollars, and now every stream, the stream that the Oracle did last night, the stream that I did on Saturday, this stream, we're just going to keep giving away dollars and dollars and dollars. And it's all well and good you sitting there asking us to give away $50. Work it out. If we got $950, we're not going to give away $50 per stream for the next couple of months, are we? Because we'll be thousands of dollars in debt. So stop asking for $100 in chat on Binance Square. It's tiring and it's never going to happen. We'll be giving away $3, $4, $5 a stream for the next few months. You do the maths on that. That's a good few $100 that we're giving away. So we are going to be doing that, but it doesn't work everywhere. It only works on Binance Square. Now, Peter Schiff warns of spectacular Bitcoin crash as analyst flags key level to avoid a bear market. We have been in a bear market since October. What are they talking about? So we're holding above 90 following a weekend bounce, but analysts are split on what comes next. One critic warns of a major crash, another outlining a critical zone that could decide Bitcoin's trend. In a recent post, Peter Schiff argued that Bitcoin's failure to keep pace with gold undermines the digital gold narrative. Now, the digital gold narrative is something that we use to explain to people what Bitcoin is. Fundamentally, they're nothing like each other. But it's like if somebody signs Ahmad for Man United, and you say, "Oh, how does Ahmad play?" You'll say, "Well, he's a little bit like George Best." That's how you would look at Ahmad. Then the problem is Peter Schiff comes along and says, "Ahmad, he's nothing like George Best. He's crap. He's rubbish. He can't cross the ball. He can't dribble. He can't do this." And then Peter Schiff uses that analogy to beat you with it. Bitcoin is nothing like gold. Bitcoin has a finite amount. Okay? Gold can be mined from an asteroid. It can be found in the ocean. It can be found in a mountain. It can be dug out of the ground. Okay? So Bitcoin is nothing like gold. And for a beginner, the easiest way to explain Bitcoin is it's like digital gold. But they're nothing like each other. But the problem is Peter Schiff does this for eyes. We wouldn't be talking about him if he hadn't have been talking about Bitcoin for the last 3 or 4 years. And gold at this moment in time is a safety net. If we're going to have conflict, if we're going to have bad macroeconomic data, gold is where you go. That's why gold's at all-time highs. Of course it is. But Bitcoin is a risk-on asset. So gold is safe, Bitcoin isn't safe. So when we have, I don't know, let's say China lands on the shores of Taiwan tomorrow, what do you think is going to go up and what do you think is going to go down? Gold will go up, Bitcoin will go down. They're nothing like each other yet. It will take a very much longer time for another generation of people to come through to buy Bitcoin. More people need to understand what Bitcoin is for Bitcoin to really take off. Now, the underperformance increases the risk of a spectacular crash rather than a smooth rally to all-time highs. Now, Kevin pushed back. I don't know who Kevin is, noting that current capital flows do not yet support Bitcoin tracking gold higher. Very true. Historically, Bitcoin tends to benefit after gold peaks as capital rotates out of safe havens into higher risk assets. It is a cycle. Think of it this way. You have a risk on cycle and a risk off cycle. Risk off, gold. Risk on, Bitcoin. So what is likely to happen at some point in the future is that conflict will come to an end, which is great for keeping people alive. Happy days. Then interest rates will come down, money will start to come in, and the riskier assets, the assets which are more volatile, they will see money flowing in. Why are you holding gold when the markets are about to pump? You won't. So you'll sell your gold and you'll go and buy Bitcoin, you'll go and buy stocks, you'll go and buy whatever it might be. So gold is currently in the risk on side. Gold is in the risk off side. So that's important to understand, especially when you read stuff like this. Now, gold is going to absolutely fly, okay? Gold is going to fly until there is no risk left. That's what's going to happen. Now, I said before about Trump, this is a manufactured crisis from Donald Trump. He doesn't want Greenland, he wants bases in Greenland. We've said this before, not going to cover that again. How does he get there? How do you get a base in Greenland? You ask to buy Greenland. He doesn't want to buy Greenland because Greenland isn't for sale. I don't know how many treaties that are 100 years old to say that it can't happen. Self-determination being the main one. Now, in a hypothetical scenario, if 97% of people in Greenland vote to become American and they've got self-determination, then Greenland goes to America because it's self-determination. Same in Gibraltar. If Gibraltar decides that it wants to be American and not English and not Spanish and not Italian, and they vote 97% to be American, and America wants Gibraltar to join the USA and become the 53rd, 52nd state, whatever it is nowadays, then of course Gibraltar would become American. So it's self-determination is the people living there get to decide. Gold, going off on a tangent here, gold is where people are going right now because of this manufactured risk. Bitcoin, I don't expect to come down to this level just yet. Okay, I have said that I think 75 to 80,000 is a good place for Bitcoin to go. And the reason is we don't have the mass capitulation because we didn't have the euphoria. So I don't think we're going to drop. Now, again, there's caveats to everything we always say on here. If China goes into Taiwan tomorrow, Bitcoin goes below $50,000 because it's another global crisis. So of course we could see that. But if we don't see that and we're talking about a little bit of a flash in the pan, Bitcoin might recover from where we are now and go back up to 95,000, 97,000. We don't know. We can't see the future. But I don't see us going too far below 70,000. A breakout, I don't know about the breakout for me. Yeah, I think it would be historically significant for an early to mid-year cycle and could set the stage for new all-time highs, potentially breaking the traditional 4-year cycle. Again, this is what everybody's holding on to. Bitcoin breaks back above 100, 102,000, even goes towards 110,000. Then you could probably say the 4-year cycle is dead. But we're not there yet. And we've done pretty much what we thought it was going to do, which is go back to the bull market support band, not get through, and then come down. And it doesn't matter what the news is that does that. We are kind of where we said we were going to be. Good morning, Danny. I hope you are well. Let me just keep an eye on chat. I did say I would drop another box. So before we get on to talk about this New York Stock Exchange, I'm just going to very quickly go and drop a box over on Binance here. Let me just go and drop this box. Like I said, we're going to be giving away some of our prize money in chat, and we're going to spread it out. Okay, so as I said, those of you asking for a $100 airdrop, you can go and watch somebody else, because that is not going to happen, and you're an idiot for thinking it will. Okay, we're going to be airdropping $3 to $5 a stream. We stream 5 to 7 times a week. We're going to be doing this for several months. Do the math, okay? There is no point in airdropping $100 on one stream, and then that's it for a few months. So stop asking, and we will keep doing it. Now, there are a few people in chat that have been looking at SUI. Be careful about SUI. SUI might be a good price to get in at, but I think the market's going to come down. Lots of people asking to be followed in chat. That is great, but the main people you should be following are Crypto Warehouse. Now then, let's get back to where we were. And I said, there's also one other thing for the people who are watching on YouTube. You can watch in both places. We don't mind. I know Kishan watches in both places. We don't mind the people on YouTube watching on Binance Square, okay, and or either or. It doesn't really matter. And I know a lot of people that used to watch us on YouTube now watches on Binance Square because we do the airdrops, and that is also absolutely fine. We don't care where you watch us as long as you watch us. Now, New York Stock Exchange develops a platform for 24/7 trading with tokenized stocks. This was going to happen. The reason this was going to happen is that crypto and Web3 is an existential crisis for stock exchanges, because stock exchanges trade, 8:30 till 4:30, Monday to Friday. It's very archaic, very outdated, you know, people in suits waving pieces of paper at each other. It's like cavemen again, isn't it? We've invented the wheel, which is 24/7 trading, and I think we're going to move that way. I think the stock exchanges of the future are simply going to be on-chain dApps. You know, there'll obviously be auditing will still be involved, accreditation, checks, balances, laws, all of that will still be there, but the actual physical building that people go around is likely to be turned into a museum, in my opinion. The London Stock Exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, they're going to become museums in the future, and your children or your grandchildren will walk around it, and a guy will stand there and say, here are some pictures from the 1980s where these men in shirts and ties with really bad BO would wave pieces of paper in the air, and they'd swap pieces of paper to trade stocks. And everyone in the crowd's going to go, pieces of paper to trade stocks? That's where we're going to go. And if you look at it from that point of view now, it is ridiculous. I know we've got rid of the paper trading, but it's still ridiculous. Same with commodities. The commodities traders, they're still stuck in the 1970s. I've seen documentaries about those guys. They haven't changed. I know they've changed. Orange juice got changed, and I think another one of the big ones got changed, but they're still living in the past. And, you know, those days are gone. Those trading days are gone. So the system combines the New York Stock Exchange proprietary pillar matching engine with blockchain-based post-trade systems. It supports multiple blockchains for settlement and custody, as well as stablecoin-based financing. One thing to bear in mind about this, they're using Chainlink. Just putting that out there. Been telling you for a long time. Chainlink is going to be a winner. 24/7 trading. Going to be using Chainlink. Going to be big. If this happens in New York, it will happen in London, Berlin. It'll happen in Paris. It'll happen everywhere. Japan will do the same thing. So this is going to happen. It is going to change trading considerably, because a lot of people out there who do trade, who do a lot of TA, they talk about market openings. You know, you have the London market open, the London market kind of closes, then you have the American market open, and the American market closes, then the Asian market opens and then closes, and it goes into London, and there's like this circle of open and closing. And I don't know what effect psychologically 24/7 trading will have on all of that. I've not read anything about that. I've not seen how that's going to work. Maybe people will still trade during those hours, just do it via the blockchain. Of course, that's a possibility. Maybe it doesn't have any difference whatsoever. But I think having a stock trade 24/7, 365 may make the stock market more volatile, because there is a trick. Donald Trump's used it in the past. You announce something at 10 o'clock on a Friday night. The market closes at 9:30 our time. He announces it half an hour later. That news gets digested on the Saturday and the Sunday. And then the Monday morning, companies and Trump will prepare another release, so the information can come out to you without it affecting the markets. So if we go to 24/7, 365, and Trump comes out on a Friday night and says, I'm going to invade Greenland, everything will tank. So I think it's going to increase the volatility of the markets. If anything, it's going to increase volatility. Now then, I was really looking forward to going through this article, because this is the one thing that we talk about all the time on here. Look for projects that make money. Look for projects that make you bags of cash. They are going to be the ones that will be around in 10, 15 years, hopefully 15 years time. These 15 altcoins generated the most revenue in the last month have been revealed. They haven't been revealed. You can go and check it on chain, but I like the way it's going. So this is according to on-chain data and protocol-based revenue calculations. Stablecoin issuers and large blockchain networks top the list, while derivatives exchanges and DeFi protocols showed fluctuating revenue trends. So this is the list of the top projects in crypto. Let's leave it at the word projects. Now, the number one revenue-making business is Tether, coming in at $418 million. Tron is second at $204 million. Now, I don't know how Tron works. I don't know how it makes its money. Maybe it's Asia. Maybe the Asian side of crypto Twitter is separate. I don't know how it makes that money. And I'm being honest with you. I understand Tether. I understand Circle. I don't understand Tron at all. Then you've got Hyperliquid. You've got Sky, which was a previous... Sky was a different blockchain. It changed its name. Underneath that, you've got Pump.Fun, Ethereum, Axiom Trade, PancakeSwap, Phantom, Aave, Lido Finance, Aerodrome, Chainlink, and Aether, however you want to pronounce it. So they are the top performing projects. Now, Hype pretty much didn't exist before last year. Pump.Fun kind of peaked last year. But you've got down here, you've got the likes of Aave, you've been around for a while, Lido, Chainlink, Aerodrome. So this list, I think if we looked at this list last year and maybe the year before, we'd certainly see some of the same names. Ethereum would certainly be up there. But there are an interesting collection of newer projects. And this is what, we talk about. We made a video a couple of weeks ago talking about an ETF-based portfolio. So you buy all the cryptocurrencies that are in ETFs and are going to be in ETFs. So you create a portfolio of about 10 or 12 different cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, those kind of coins. I honestly don't think having a portfolio based on projects that make money is also not a bad idea. I'm not saying you hold Tether and Circle because they are stable coins, but you could certainly hold Tether and Circle shares, because I think they both IPO'd, didn't they? Or did Circle IPO and Tether hasn't IPO'd? I can't remember, but Circle's definitely IPO'd. Tron, I don't know enough about, but let's get down to these ones. Hype certainly is making the most money, but Pump.Fun is still there. Ethereum is still there. PancakeSwap. Now, I find this fascinating. Phantom is a wallet. It's a Solana-derived wallet. It now does multiple blockchains, including Ethereum. And, of course, they make all of their money from the fees from you swapping in your wallet. And, again, it's easy. If I'm swapping $10, $15, I'll do it in Phantom. If I'm selling dust, I'll do it in Phantom. If I'm doing a big trade over $1,000 or $2,000, I'll do that through Dupe or a decentralized exchange. But for all of those micro transactions, Phantom is the one that you would use. And they've started to launch perps and things like that as well. And then further down, the one thing I will say about Chainlink is Chainlink is just going to keep making more and more money. I showed you a minute ago that the New York Stock Exchange was going to start doing 24/7, 365 trading. The oracle powering all of those prices is Chainlink. You look at the deals with Visa and MasterCard, Chainlink. And again, it's not my number one hold. It will never be my number one hold, but you need to look at Chainlink. Of everything up here, I like Hype, but it's not been around that long. Pump.fun could very well die out in the next 12 to 18 months. But PancakeSwap, Aerodrome, Lido, which is the liquid staking Ethereum protocol, or DApp, sorry, Aave, again, DeFi, these are going to be around for a while, and they're making money. And that's what you want to keep an eye on, especially when there are some noticeable absences from here. Some blockchains are not in the top 15 for a start off. Have a look. Anyway, let's move on very quickly. Let's make sure everybody got the airdrop. Mohammed and Gihan, please don't come into chat and ask for money. I will ban you. Okay? We are not going to allow people to beg in chat. Go away. Okay? Go and watch somebody else. This is not what we're here for. Ethereum, 30% of ETH supply is now staked as total value hits 120 billion. Again, I think this is helped a lot. And Solana as well. I think Solana's got a massive amount staked. These are helped a lot by the ETFs. And of course, Tom. Tom is helping an awful lot. 36 million ETH is now staked on Ethereum. That's 30% of all ETH in circulation, worth about 120 billion. The headline does not always equal confidence. The total tells you how much ETH is staked, not why people staked it. However, I've seen another chart showing you that there are 0 unstakes on the Ethereum ecosystem. So nobody is trying to unstake. Now, I don't know if you remember, I told you last year I unstaked all of my Ethereum in preparation for the blow off top that never came. But I unstaked it all. And at the time when we're getting towards September, there was was it a 2-month delay in people wanting to unstake for Ethereum? That's all happened, and now we're in a situation where nobody wants to unstake their Ethereum. Why would you keep your Ethereum staked? 2 reasons. You don't expect the price to go up any point in the near future, so you want to earn a yield on it, and staking it pays you 2 or 3%. That's option number 1. Option number 2 is the Ethereum staking ETFs, which stake to earn the rewards to then pay you. So I think there's a coupling of those 2 things have got us to where we are with Ethereum. So the new staking high tells another story in recent Ethereum news. Look closer, you'll see a system that is getting more complex. At the same time, power is pooling in fewer hands. Big firms are showing up more often, and they're playing the long game. One simple way to picture it is to think of Ethereum like a busy cargo port. The docks are packed, and more ships keep arriving. Containers stack higher every day, and very little cargo heads out. Terrible analogy. A few giant shipping companies get priority berths. They move faster, pay less friction, and shape the rules of the terminal. And if one operator controls most of the cranes, it matters more. Again, I do not like that analogy at all. The validators lock up ETH, run the software, and help produce and verify blocks. When they do it right, they earn rewards. When they break the rules, the network cuts their stake. That is also true. I don't want to keep... This is a very long article. Let's see if there's anything in here. I don't think there's anything in here. All I will say is this. The more ETH... I've got that huge, massive banner at the top of the screen as well. I might have to stop using the Coin Republic because that's too big to look at. All I would say is, if we have Ethereum and Solana staking ETFs, the more they buy, the more they stake, and the more will be staked, and the more rewards will be paid out to them. That's the one thing to read into that. Proof of stake is actually proof of wealth. I will go along with that, but Vitalik is working on fixing that, because what you don't want is, you don't want BlackRock controlling Ethereum. Absolutely not. You don't want it controlling the direction. You don't want Tom Lee controlling the direction. You want to limit the power of the largest stakers, and that is very, very true. Right then, moving on very quickly. What have we got? 11:50. Got a couple of articles to go. We can get through these. Why is VVS Finance on my screen? I didn't click on that. How did that pop up? Okay. Cardano's Charles Hoskinson blasts Ripple CEO over sabotaged Clarity Act. Why? Now, is there a picture of him? There isn't. The long and short of it is, there's two camps for the Clarity Act. One camp says no bill is better than this bill. That's one camp, and that's the one that Charles is in. The other camp says any bill is better than no bill. They're the two camps. And Charles is obviously on the no bill is better. Brad is like, we'll just get a bill over the line and then we'll work on it. Okay? The issue is, and I said this, and I don't want to keep reiterating the same points because the OGs out there keep hearing me say the same thing. When you have a bill come in, it's like when you go to a new motor show and you see a car and it's got, you touch the car and it goes red, green, blue because it's got some kind of translucent LED skin on the car, and you can make the car any colour you want. And then it gets watered down from that super cool car to a Morris Minor, which probably many of you don't know, which will have a bumper sticker that you can set a different colour on. And that's going from the super proof of concept to reality. And what the Clarity Act did was it followed the same path. It promised regulatory clarity. It promised a fair playing field. The same with the Genius Act, a fair level playing field. And what happens is that the politicians who have lobby groups like banks, they kind of water down the act. And what comes out the other end is just as protectionist as it is now. So stablecoins can't issue interest on their stablecoin. And the question you would say is why? And the reason is that banks currently keep all of that interest. If you have $100 billion with the Bank of America, and they basically go and earn off the US Treasuries, they'll earn $4 billion a year, and they will pay you $400 million a year, if you're lucky. So they walk away with $3.6 billion a year. Happy days, right? Let's say Circle and Tether turn around and say, right, well, we've got $100 billion and we make $4 billion a year, so we're going to pay you 3.5%. We're going to give you $3.5 billion of interest, and we're going to keep $500 million of interest. And you'll look at that and you think, that's fair. That's fair. But the bank will never tell you that it keeps all the interest. So the banks come along and say, they are not allowed to pay interest. So that gets written into the act. And then Binance and other ones, you're not allowed interest to be paid on stable coins held on those platforms. Why? Because it's a threat to the status quo. It's a threat to the banks. And Charles is quite rightly kicking up a fuss. Why? Because if the banks can kick up a fuss from their end, we also need to kick up a fuss from our end. And what's going to happen is the banks will win. But we want them to win in the right way. We don't want them to win in a way where they simply keep making all the profits and the cryptocurrencies have got their hands tied. That's what we don't want. So this argument is not just Charles, it's not just Brad Garlinghouse, it's the guy I can't mention the name of with the bald head. He's involved with this. I'm sure if you ask CZ or Richard Teng, if you ask them about this, they would also offer an opinion, but of course they're not allowed. And there he is. This is the interview I watched. But this thing will probably drag on. This will drag on. And we just need to see what the negotiation is coming at the other end. And it may be that stablecoins are not allowed to issue interest, okay? But Binance will. Other exchanges will be allowed to pay interest. Maybe that is the compromise. Maybe. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. It's still going through the government as we speak. Banks are banks, Kishan. You are absolutely correct. Now, Render Network Director says DePIN could ease AI bottlenecks. DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure network. Okay, that's all it means. So basically a data center is a DePIN. Your mobile phone, if it's connected to other mobile phones and you measure sound or noise pollution, wherever it might be, you're part of a DePIN, a decentralized physical infrastructure network. So it's equipment in different parts of the world. You could argue that Bitcoin and Litecoin use DePIN, and you'd probably be right. But the AI bottleneck is coming from the point of view of when you use, say, a certain provider to solve your AI problems, they have a centralized system for doing it. And we're big fans of Compute 3 AI. We're never going to not be big fans of Compute 3 AI because we like what they do. But if you've got a DePIN, what that means is you might have a GPU on your computer. There might be a company in Ireland, for example, that has 20 or 30 state-of-the-art computers full of GPUs that they could basically be paid to allow the use of via Render and via a DePIN. So that's what it is. So it's outsourcing a lot of the AI to multiple different data centers, if you like. And that's what he's saying. And again, this is not reinventing the wheel. This is something that we've known about ever since we were covering Compute 3 AI. We covered Compute 3 AI because they solve one of the biggest problems in Web3 at this moment in time, which is finding cheap GPU usage. That's what they solve, and they do it in a brilliant way. And they're more than likely going to get bought out by somebody, I think. And that will be something which will benefit AI. It will benefit the GPUs around the world. And again, there are thousands upon thousands of redundant servers around the world that aren't being used, that are full of GPUs that could be used to drive the price down. So it's a benefit for you, it's a benefit for the companies with the machines, and it's a benefit for the industry as a whole. So, Jackson Hinkle. Oh no, he's the host. Harry's Jones said decentralized GPU networks are not aiming to replace traditional data centers, but complement them by solving some of AI's most pressing scaling issues. And again, we might as well be running this as an advert for Compute 3 AI because this is exactly what they do. Render is a decentralized GPU rendering platform excuse me, that is designed to democratize the digital creation process for free creators. He pointed to different examples. Again, I don't think it's a question of replacing, it's a question of utilization or both. I agree. You need centralized places for you to go for the GPU usage. You need them to be centralized, but then you want the centralized location to then use all of the decentralized GPUs. It's as simple as that. And again, Render do this. Render have got partnerships with Apple. Personally, Compute 3 AI. That's what you want to look at. Now, I'm going to be quick because we're running out of time. And again, I do not believe for 1 minute that Animoca brands are going to disappear tomorrow. And according to Yatsui, NFTs are not dead. Wealthy crypto collectors are still driving the market, says Animoca Brands Yatsui, who's the co-founder. He was also an avid NFT collector. There's a community of owners who bought to own, not to sell. There he is, looking very happy with his cardboard bottle of water at some conference somewhere. Sales of non-fungible tokens are down from $1 billion a month in 2021, 2022, and that they were great days. Great days. But $300 million in the last 30 days is not to be sniffed at. The cancellation of NFT Paris is down to France's turning against crypto, plus a spate of kidnappings of crypto execs. That's the what's it called? Hatchet? Something we called them, didn't we? Again, NFT Paris, I don't care about NFT Paris. If you can't put on a conference and sell out a conference. That's got nothing to do with the industry, that's to do with you. Of course, if the industry is something so specific that you can't get people to attend, that's fine. But just because you're incompetent and your cost base is so high that you have to cancel your event, it doesn't mean that the industry is dead. There are many conferences that are cancelled, mainly because they're in really, really obscure places, or they're about really, really obscure things. I mean, we have a list of all the different crypto events in Europe and America and Dubai, for example, for the next 12 months. And I tell you now, 50% of them are a waste of time. 50% of them are just excuses for people to go on a holiday to somewhere nice. And that is all they are. And then you get the influencers get flown out. The companies will pay $10,000, $20,000 a ticket to fund the event. You'll have all these stands there that will add zero benefit to the industry. And they just exist to make the organisers money. And clearly, these organisers are terrible at making money. But are NFTs dead? In the doldrums, yes, but not dead, says the co-founder. Charles is back. See, no, Charles is following me, I think. Wealthy collectors are driving the market, he said in an interview with CFC St. Moritz crypto conference. Some investors will have a connection to a type of digital art the same way a family office, Sion might be a collector of art by Picasso. Have NFTs remained popular amongst wealthy collectors? Yes. I'm a big collector myself, and I share similar insights with my peers in this space. It's a community. A Picasso collector would have an affinity towards all other people who collect Picassos. You're kind of a part of that club. It's also true for Ferraris, Lamborghinis, or Rolex watches. It's a digital version. He's absolutely right. One of the crypto streamers that I follow, their father-in-law has a Ferrari. And one of the things that they do is there are events every month, every 2 months. And they are private events where you get to go to a Ferrari showroom and they show you off a Ferrari, get taken to a stately home. And it's all to basically drive a community spirit. And of course, NFTs are all part of that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And when we talk about NFTs, we talk about two things. One, it has to have utility. And number two, it has to have a community behind it. And if it doesn't, it's dead in the water, okay? Because it's about value extraction. And the next question is, it's kind of a zero-sum game. You sell 10,000 NFTs for $10 each. You've got $100,000. How do you get more money into that NFT project? You do it with either royalties, which means people selling them to other people for a higher price, or you add value to the IP. And that IP is the brand. Think Pudgy Penguins, okay? The brand. So you drive it through royalties or you drive it through IP collabs. That's how you drive value. And that's where nearly every NFT has ever failed. If you gave me the opportunity and if I had the spare cash, would I buy a Bored Ape today? Yes. Would I buy a CryptoPunk? Yes. And that is where I draw the line in terms of well-known brands. Pudgy Penguins will do great. They've just partnered with Manchester City. They've got their own TV channel coming out. I think they're going to do something with Fortnite as well. Of course, they're absolutely huge. Brilliant on them. But I want an OG NFT. And if it's down 95% from its all-time high, I'll buy one because I still think they've got value. But the rest of it, for me, you look at new brands that come out and they are hype-driven for about 2 or 3 months and then they're dead. Community-driven means your cost base is a lot lower. You can focus more on giving back to the community. Think Monkey Muscle, who we follow. They do poker nights. They get people to sponsor those poker nights. It's kind of a self-balancing thing, and they never gave up. And I can tell you 99 projects that gave up. They never gave up. You need the community. Either you need the community or you need an IP-driven revenue base. I think in the future, Animoca still going to be here. They've got a lot of cash in the bank. At one point, they had like $1 billion or something ridiculous like that. They're not going to go anywhere. I think the only way they're going to go anywhere is if they go down the OpenSea route and just waste their money. But I think they're going to be around for a while. And I think NFTs, the 2021-2022 NFT vision is dead. That's what I would say. But the 2026 NFT vision or the 2027 NFT vision, that still has to come to pass. Anyway, I think it's time I called an end to the stream. There's a few people in chat. Hello. I hope you're all incredibly well. I've not quite run out of steam today. I've kind of more. I don't want to keep going over on the end of the streams. I want to keep the streams to the point where we have an hour. I don't want to go over the hour, basically. So thank you all for watching. There's loads of people in chat. Gihan is here. Haroon is here. Crypto. Nagama is here. Jesus is here. Elvira. Great name, Elvira. Used to love you on the TV in the 90s. I hope you're well. Obviously, we've got Kishan. We've got KB. We've got Danny over there. I hope you're all incredibly well. We're going to keep coming. We're going to keep showing up. And we're going to keep making these daily streams. Now, tomorrow morning, I'm not live, am I? Because we're live tomorrow night. We've got the Wolfies quiz night tomorrow night. The Wolfies is an NFT project, which is nicely led on from what I've just been talking about. They are IP. They're revenue driven. We're going to do a different quiz because Samurai Smart keeps winning. So we're actually going to do an NFT quiz tomorrow night. There will be some questions about Wolfies, but there's going to be, the majority of them are going to be about NFTs. So watch along tomorrow night. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Central European time, which is about 7 hours from now, tomorrow night. I'm going to set the stream up on Binance Square now. And then I'm going to see you all probably, I think we'll go live about 6:30 tomorrow night. Hopefully the stream will work. Anyway, thank you all for coming. I'll see you all tomorrow. Mike out.